Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's July is going well. I was just looking at the calendar and it's almost done. Next week, it's July is over. That's crazy. I always say time waits for no one. And also, while we're talking about time waits for no one, I'm just going to go ahead, do my shameless self promotion. What if I wrote the world? Poems inspired by music written by me, your boy. Always in the description, always in the link tree. It's somewhere all the time. So today we're here to talk about a crazy book, uh, Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nacosta. I hope I'm saying her name right. Nascosta. I feel like I said it wrong in my short video, but we're gonna roll with it. So we're gonna go over the genre. We're gonna do the author biography. We're gonna read the synopsis. Um, I forgot to get all of the characters' names, so my bad. So I have a few of them, and we're just going to get into my review. So C.M. Nascosta is a USA Today best-selling author and professional procrastinator from Cleveland. This is from her website. From Cleveland, Ohio. Suffers a preferred beast to boys, the macabre to the milliquatost. Millicutoast? We're going to go with that. The unknown darkness in the shadows to the Chad next door. She lives in a crumbling old Victorian with a scaredy cat dachshund, where she writes non-traditional romances featuring beastly boys with equal parts heart and heat. And is waiting for the Hallmark Channel to get with the program and start a paranormal lovers series. So that's about her. That's a really cute biography. That was on her website, so I was like, might as well get it from the website. Yeah, the official website. The book was released August 2nd, 2021. I listened to it on audiobook, which is why some of the characters I do not remember their names. Sorry. But here's the synopsis. Violet is a typical down on her luck millennial, mid-20s, overeducated and drowning in debt. On the verge of moving into her parents' basement. It's not really a basement though. I think this was also from the was this from the site or was this from Storygraph? It's like a loft over the garage actually, but neither here nor there. It's basically a basement. When a lifeline appears in the form of a very unconventional job in the neighboring Cambridge Creek, she has no choice but to grab at it with both hands, literally. Morning Glory Farm offers full-time hours, full benefits, and generous pay with no experience needed. There's only one catch. The clientele is grade A certified prime beef with manly, meaty endowments to match. Hands-on work with Minotaurs isn't something Violet considered a career option, but she's determined to turn opportunity into a reversal of fortune. If I can read today, that would be amazing. When a stern, deep-voiced client begins to specially request her for his sessions at the farm, maintaining her professionalism and keeping him out of her dreams is easier said than done. Violet is resolved to make a dent in her student loans and afford name brand orange juice. And a one-sided crush on an out-of-her-league Minotaur is not part of her plan, unless her feelings aren't so one-sided after all. So, that's the synopsis. And the main people you need to know is Violet, she's the main character, and Rourke is the Minotaur who is especially requesting her. So, I don't know if I can even say, honestly, what she's doing. But it's a milking farm, but Minotaurs don't have udders. They have manly parts, as the synopsis said, and they use the fluids from the manly parts in like Viagra in this universe, basically. So, I don't know what I can and cannot say on YouTube. I know I don't have that many followers and subscribers, but who knows? I don't know how they monitor stuff, but that is the best way I'm going to be able to explain it. I've only ever had like one channel or one warning or like strike or anything, and that was on TikTok because I mentioned stalking, and apparently that's like a dangerous activity, even though I'm describing something that happened to someone in the past. I don't know the rules, but that's as best as I'm going to be able to explain it to you. There were other characters that are important, but I don't remember their names because I've already started listening to another book after this one. So, my brain doesn't always retain everything it needs to. But she has like a vampire friend and she's really cool. She has like I'm trying to remember what the girl that she works with is. It's like a a insect thing, which is really cool. They're really cool characters. They're all kind of like different, species in this book. It's really cool. So let's get into my review. I'm gonna get into my pros and my cons and my overall opinion. So, oh, speaking of characters, that's my first pro. I loved all the characters. There's gorgons, there's vampires, like I said. They even have a vampire restaurant. They have orcs. They have mothmen. They have all kinds of. They have minotaurs, like I said. They have all kinds of cool things. They have humans, and all of these are in the same world. And all the characters really work well together. Her vampire friend is very encouraging about her love life, and helps her out and gives her tips. It's really cool friendship. And you would think a vampire and a human, that don't seem like it should be a good friendship, but they work well. And of course, in this world, you have to mingle with everybody. So I'm sure they're like, I don't know, they don't go into the laws or anything. But I'm sure there's some kind of unwritten rule, like don't bite your friend. So there got to be something going on. And I also loved all of the characters in that she works with on the milking farm. They're all really unique and different, and it's really interesting to see. I know you can't see it, but imagine all these different animals and all these different worlds. Not all these different worlds, but all these different species intermingling in this one world. It's really interesting. And then the story. I do really love the story. You know, I can relate to Violet as a human in debt. Yeah, I mean, I'm keep trying to get myself out, but like, it's very relatable. She's like on her last leg before she gets this job, or she has to like move back home, and then her parents have these expectations for her, but she has other dreams for herself. You know what I mean? Not just going back to her small town, and it's kind of like a parallel to like when you grow up because she is white and just like this small white town and you go out into the city, you go out into other suburbs and you see like a whole different world, literally in this case. But it but she did have like when she lived in her city apartment, she did see other species, but not as much as when she's in Cambridge Creek. And it's really interesting. It's like it's opened up a world for her and she can never just go back to what she knew because she knows so much more and so many more different types of people. So I feel like that was a really cool parallel. And I feel like the story is really good. Um, besides and well, I'm gonna intermingle this into the story aspect, even though I put it actually all these are kind of I said the world and smut, they're all kind of interconnected. But I did enjoy, learning about the world, like I said, and then they have all kind of different houses. They have different foods. They have different, like even at the coffee shop that she goes to in Cambridge Creek, they have, coffees for humans, coffees for all these different species. It's like really cool. And then the smut with the story, they do have like typical rom com beats, which I do appreciate. The smut, I do have to, you have to remember, and I put this in my overall opinion, I think, in my review, like my main review of it. You have to disconnect your brain from this world. You do. You really do. Take it out. Put it in that world. Don't ever take it out. Because, that's also going to be something that's a con. But let me keep on to my pros. It was interesting, the smut. Um, seeing, describing them together is very interesting, very different. I never read anything like that. I've only read about humans, being with other humans. I haven't even read like animals, sentient animals with other sentient animals. So it was like really different. Uh and intriguing. And you kind of have to take your brain out of the fact that this is normal over there. Not here. Definitely not here. But over there in Cambridge Creek in that book world, it is perfectly normal. It happens. So that's one thing. So let me get into my cons, which is the interspecies love and the smut. Like I said, you really have to take out your brain and put it in that world. It's not anything I'm used to, of course. And then, the whole beginning of the book describing her at the farm and what she was doing, and then the fact that some of these minotaurs have, I don't know if I can say it, but I'm gonna say it. They have fetishes about this, and they have to please the clientele. Even though it's really interesting because they get paid like like a sperm. It's basically a sperm bank. Like in our world, you get paid to donate. They get paid to donate, but it's also like you have to cater to them. It's really interesting. But it's also like you're getting paid to give your sperm, but you're also getting turned on. It's kind of weird to me, but I'm sure there's some people in the human world who that works out for too. But yeah, that was just something I had to get over. But outside of that, I'm reading the second book. Well, I have it on Audible, so I can take my time. But I checked out some other books at the library, so I'm going to go through those first and then go back to the second book. So, I mean, hey, I'm in it. So now let's get into my overall opinion. A very different type of romance than I'm used to, definitely. At first, I was horrified and traumatized. I was. Uh, LOL. But then I really got into the world and the characters and decided I had to see it through. I had to see it through, my boy. Like one day I listened to audiobooks because I have like a long commute. So it takes like an hour to and from. So, I was like stuck in traffic as always on 95. There's always some construction. There's always something. And I got to listen to more of the book. I got all the way like I can't remember if it was the first or second day I had started reading it. It was the first day I had already gotten through like halfway through because of traffic. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see it through. It was really interesting. Um, just where was that? It still had its cute rom com moments, even with the interspecies love, and I love that. Just the typical rom com, but also the smut, build up stuff as well. I will say, oh yeah, like I said, you have to keep reminding yourself that this is normal for that world because I was a little disturbed by the smut. LOL, not gonna lie. But I am committed to the whole series now because I want to see what the other stories are about. The next one is called Sweet Berries, and it's about this human who is also like a Minotaur love interest already, but I don't think he's gonna be the final love interest. I don't think. But I have not looked up anything like spoiler wise. But she works at a berry farm, so it's called Sweet Berries. So it seems really interesting. So, I'm gonna see what's going on in all these other different stories. I think there are 4 or 5 books. And then there's also a book from Rourke, who's the Minotaur in this book, from his perspective, with their love story. So I feel like that could be interesting to see too, or to read. So I would give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, if you think it's gonna be interesting to you, I would, if this review sounds interesting, I would say go for it, you know? And if you don't know what a Minotaur is, they're basically a bull. It's supposed to be a bull, a human hybrid, but in this book, he's basically a bull that just stands, that, can stand up like a human, basically. That's pretty much how he's described. But when I looked up Minotaur pictures, I was like, they definitely should have some human parts. Well, his hands were definitely human. Um, but let's just say, uh, I mean, they wear clothes, but below the belt was not human. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Uh, it was definitely different. Yeah. So yeah, and then I wrote a rant again, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but it's called "You Can Write Anything." I don't mean this in a mean way, but if you have any doubts, you can write anything that comes to your mind. Just let your imagination wild and just make sure it sounds good. Did I ever think I would be reading about a human and a minotaur as a couple? No. Seeing Nascosta, she had it in her mind. She was like, I want to write these different books and these different love stories, and I'm going to put them out. And they're doing well. She's a USA, what is it, best selling author? Look at that. She just put what was in her brain onto the paper. And that's what you got to do. That's what I got to do too. Um, I do think there are some extreme genres of writing that might borderline into some taboo or tasteless territory, though. I do feel like there is some. Like recently, I looked at this review of the book The Playground. I had heard so many crazy things about it, and I was like, this is maybe too extreme. But, there are some exceptions. And then there was a book, I think in Australia, where somebody had written about an adult minor relationship. And I think she got arrested. So, I mean, there are limitations, of course. But also, there are not limitations because if people are reading The Playground or any of these the other book, they might have already read that adult minor book before, that author got arrested. You never know. So, I mean, just sky's the limit pretty much. Even if, not everybody wants to read it or not everybody's going to like it. What was that? Okay, and that's outside of that, you just gotta be free. Let your mind make up any unique premise it can. This, I think this shows there's a market for any kind of writing, which there really is. And, even without selling it, there's lots of fan fictions. I used to write fan fiction. There's all kind of stories that you can write. And honestly, before I read this, like I said in my short video, I thought it was going to be just a parody book and I would just be laughing at it. But I genuinely enjoyed it and was fascinated by the world of the stories. Well, of the first story that I'm continuing the series. Um, I know CM Nacosta may not be the first person to write stories like this, but imagine she limited herself that she never would have stood out, you know? Just like Stephen King, Shakespeare, Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, etc. They never limited themselves. So write whatever you want. And this is also not this is to motivate others as it is to myself because I need to push myself as well. Because you can write anything, you know, and people will enjoy it. So don't doubt yourself. This is also to me, don't doubt myself. Because I've been working on it is a bit of a stretch. I have been working on it. I'm not gonna put myself down. I've started some brainstorming, but I haven't written my synopses. That's what the word is, or like actually started writing the next book yet. So you just got to push yourself, and you can write anything. And I mean this in a motivating way, not in a degrading way. You know. So yeah, have you read Morning Glory, Milking Farm, or any other of CM Nacosta's books? I know she has other monster books or series because when I was on Audible, I saw like other titles that were not in the series. So I would be interested to see, what else is in her head, you know? And if you have any other suggestions of just kind of out there fantasy, romance, any kind of books that you want to recommend. My friend, after I showed her this cover, said recommended a book called My Alien Baby Daddy. So that's on my Amazon list. So why not? All right. Whatever you're thinking, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next week.